Southampton 3, Tottenham 3, the game that sparked on Saturday that epic post-game pissed-off presser. We all saw it. If you didn't, listener, Conte said, "We are not a team. We're 11 players that go on the pitch. I see selfish players that don't want to help each other, don't put their heart into it. It's time to change this situation if Tottenham want to change." He said loads of other stuff as well. Anything else that was particularly vicious in there, or was that the gist of it?
There was a point where he basically reproduced the immortal Giorgio Chiellini, "It is the history of the Tottenham" post-match interview.
Yeah, it was an angry version of "Lads, it's Tottenham."
Yeah,
wasn't it, really?
And he is the manager of Tottenham. I mean, I think that for me was the most remarkable. We've seen managers criticise their own players. We've seen Tottenham managers criticise their own players. Hello, Jose Mourinho. But to rail against not just seemingly the owner of the club, but the whole culture of the club. I mean, he basically said what pundits have been saying about the problems at Spurs for years. Yeah. But when you are the manager of Spurs and therefore figurehead and spokesperson, you're not really supposed to do that.
Would you have had him dressed in a hot dog suit saying, "We're all looking for the person who did that"?
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, that was it. And this is a feature of Antonio Conte's management, particularly since he's been at Spurs, that he doesn't ever call himself into question. And I think while there might be some sympathy for the structural and cultural problems at Tottenham that he alluded to, if his football wasn't so absolutely appalling, you'd be minded to feel a bit more sympathy for him.
Letting a Saints side who are historically bad at scoring goals come back from 3-1 down, not the greatest. Sasuhenu says, was Conte right in his rant, and does it matter? Aklaf Hanif says, should Spurs punish Conte by keeping him in the job?
That was Gary Neville's solution, kind of make him stay and make him do his job. I mean, I can't see how this gets any better. Dom spoke about the difficulty of getting managers in at this stage of the season. I suspect he probably will just stay in his job. The thing that annoyed me most about what he did is that he kind of hung everyone out to dry and then clarified later that I was only talking about the players, not the people who are paying me. So don't worry about it. It's only the people who are responsible for this who are to blame, not you guys who pay me, and I want you to keep me in my job until the end of the season. I mean, yeah. I mean, fair enough. If Conte has been telling all those players to play dismal, dull football for the last 18 months, then fair enough. It's their fault. Otherwise, I think he probably has got to share some blame. I watched Tottenham in 180 minutes of the Milan tie, and they failed to try and attack. Never mind attack. Failed to try to attack for about 155 minutes of that. At which point, 2 minutes later, a defender charges out and gets sent off. If all of that is on the players, and that's all by design, fair enough. If not, then it's the job of the manager to stop that happening. And his lack of acceptance of culpability and his self-preservation. He did exactly the same at Chelsea, we have to say. He spent £240 million, or had £240 million spent on him as Spurs manager. It's a lot of money at Spurs.
This is a kind of, he's accusing the players of being selfish while also this sort of naked act of self-preservation. So they're just kind of following his lead. Really. Jack Pitt-Brook wrote a piece about this, and he had quite a nice line in it where he says, usually when managers lose the dressing room, it's because the players give up on them. This is a rare example of the opposite, the dressing room losing the manager.
Saints, though, what a stirring comeback for them, and a point that could prove absolutely crucial come the end of the season. Lovely to see Theo Walcott back at the heart of things.
Yeah, he's now 5 yearly cycle of he got a goal and an assist in this game. He also did it, the last time he did it was in 2018, and the time before that was in 2013. So I don't know where he'll be playing in 2028, but he will score a goal and will contribute an assist in one of those games.
Southampton's last four, I still probably think they'll go down, but the last four games they beat Leicester, drew United, lost at Brentford, which can happen, and then came back from 3-1 down against Spurs. So there is some kind of, there's life there under Salas.
They are still bottom of the table, a point behind Bournemouth, who are 19th, but the entire 4 bottom 7 are separated by 3 points. And as mentioned before, only a further point takes you up to Palace and Wolves, who are in 12th and 13th. Just, Incredible.
I mean, there is no mid-table in the Premier League this season. The top half of the table, and actually if you go down to Villa in 11th, you're either in the title race, you're in the mix of the Champions League, or you're aiming for Europe. And then from Palace in 12th down to Southampton in 20th, you're trying to avoid the drop. There's no in between. It is the season of extremes.
It would be glorious chaos that I could enjoy if my team wasn't right in the middle of it all.
Right, embrace that. The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.